So, hello, welcome back to a new video. It's been a while because I only make video if I think I have something to add, especially to the subscribers who are doing photography equipment. Now the good news, in the next few days I have more videos coming up because we have new parts to play around with, and then that I didn't have that for a while. If I don't buy anything or I don't have something to review, I don't do it. But today I'm going to talk about something really boring in a way, but it kind of made sense to me, so in that case it might also make sense to you. And it's a power bank, and it's not even that new. I assumed it was new because I saw another reviewer reviewing it, and I figured it was new, but it turns out to be that the video is already months old. Who knows why sometimes YouTube gives you videos, but it turned out to be something that I enjoyed. So I ordered it 2 days ago, and they already shipped it quite quickly to me. And the reason why this is interesting is about the size. So normally, and before we open it up, let me show you what I mean. Normally, a battery power bank looks something like this, right? So this is already quite a small one, but the thickness is always determined by the internal battery construction that they are using. So they're using these round kind of normal looking batteries, and that's why power banks always have kind of the same sort of thickness and the same sort of size, unlike, for example, your phone, which on average is much flatter. Right, so this is quite a small phone because I'm using my other phones in the setup, but this is quite a lot sort of thinner, and I wanted to have a power bank which is actually quite large but also quite flat, so that I can hide it into my lens bag. It's much easier if it's really flat to put it below a battery, below a lens, or between some small area, if it's a lot flatter. And that's why I was very interested in this one called the Crave Plus. So let me take it out of the box, because actually what they did, which is different than most power banks, it has a few advantages, but one thing that they did is not really unboxing. I don't understand why the box is that big, to be fair, but they actually took a phone battery or 2 phone batteries and just stick them together and basically turned it into, I would say, or they themselves say, it's the size of an iPhone Max. So by the time it was released, it was still the iPhone 8. So the total size is about the size of an iPhone 8. And if you can see, if I hold it, that kind of makes sense. But nice thing, it also has the thickness of an iPhone 8. And so that makes it very interesting because, like I said, for me at least, so let's take a lens. If I have it in the bag, and most of my lenses are like this, I actually can now quite easily hide it either on the side of a lens or below a lens, and I hope this makes sense. Yeah, that's why I sort of figured it might be interesting also for other people. So let's first look at it, and yeah, let's see. It's a 10,000 milliamp ones. So let's weigh it in so that you have some idea. So this is a 5,000 milliamp of the old sort of type. And the capacity on average is a little bit lower. Of course, I don't know how this scale works, so we do it in reverse. It's 133 grams. It's a negative mode, but it works fine. So to go back to 0 now, it does. But you can see this is about 5,000 milliamps, and this is 10,000 milliamps. And if you put it on there, you'll see that it's, well, I have to reset this thing somehow, which I don't know how to do because I have no idea what I'm doing. This reset. How do I reset this thing? There's all kinds of modes. Oh, there it is. So let me, if we put it on there, you can see there's 237 grams, and that means that it's a little bit lighter than the other one, but it's not that far off. But the construction is totally different. So like with a phone, what they basically did is take 2 phone batteries and put them back to back inside, and you can see that makes it really small. That also would mean that it would be a lot lighter normally, but the downside, or depends how you look at it, of course, unlike these round little cells which you normally are using in these bigger models, because you can see the massive sort of difference in how thick it is, right? So if I compare it to a phone, you can see that indeed it has about the same thickness as a phone, and it's way flatter than these batteries with the round internal old-fashioned sort of lithium batteries. So basically this should also be a lot lighter. It's a little bit lighter, but because I think they are now using these batteries which are normally inside of a phone, they're also much more bendy, if that makes sense, because they don't have this protective sort of casing. So that means that the outer casing is very tough, almost as a result of that. So it has an aluminium casing. It actually feels like a phone. If you want to be funny about it, you could put a picture of something on there and people would be thinking you are walking around with a phone. So that's, yeah, I guess you can totally see this, how they designed it. But it also is a very sturdy sort of design. And at the bottom, as you can see, you have 3 connectors. And that's another interesting sort of element. So let me go to the top camera. You can see them over there. They put them at the bottom. Let's first look at the boring part. So the boring part has, like most of them, these 4 little lights to tell you how much charge there is in the inside, which is, I would say, you see it on quite a few. Some of them have a display, this one doesn't. So that's quite of normal. But the ports are again quite interesting. You can already see how flat the design is. But the nice thing about this one, that is, it allows for 2 things which you see less, let me put it like this. So it only has 1 output, which is a little bit of a pity, but it is a USB 3 output, so it supports quick charge. You can see that of the blue parts, you can see that it is able to charge quickly, probably because they can also run 2 batteries inside. They are kind of better quality ones. One thing I noticed compared to most of the other batteries that I have, and I have quite a few, is that when you are charging it, it does not get hot. Because most likely the aluminium casing, so it's very good in sort of dissipating heat, but also because I think just the design is more ready for, because they are using these high-powered sort of batteries which are normally used in phones. The second port is actually a USB-C one, which is interesting because if we, I'm not sure if you can read it, so maybe you can read it, maybe you can't. Well, you probably can't read it, but the nice thing about the different ports is that this port is a Microusb port, which you normally use for charging. But the second port you can either use as input or output. So a USB-C, you can either charge the battery using USB-C, or you can use it to charge something with it, which is really interesting. That means that normally you have 2 options to charge it, and of course it's charged much quicker over the USB-C one because it can put in way more power. So that's kind of cool, especially if you use the quick charge sort of thing. So both of these ports also support quick charge, so there are 3 amps out, which is kind of cool. And the last feature I want to talk about is that you can do it while you are charging. You can also use these 2 ports. So if you're somewhere in a hotel at night, you can actually use it, I would say, in a 3-fold sort of manner, if that makes sense. You use the supplied USB cable that they give you into the micro input, which is only input, so keep that in mind. So you only have 2 outputs, so the USB normal one and the USB-C one. But the nice thing is that you can use them multiply at the same time while you're charging it. So a really nice way of using it is charging it in a power plug, and then using 2 outputs, which are then feeding, let's say, your camera and your phone or whatever you want to charge at that moment. And yeah, that's also quite a nice sort of feature. But for me, the main feature was, of course, that it's very flat, so that I can hide it, like I showed you before, under a lens or on the side of a lens, right? You can see how easy this would be. And I'm not saying that I could not make it work with these types of batteries. But it was a lot harder. So for me, I think this is going to be quite a good addition to my bag. Like I said, it's a 10,000 milliamp one. It's clearly very sturdy in how it's built. It feels really nice in the hand, and I'm pretty sure it will survive quite a bit of usage. And like I said, the outputs are quite versatile. And I think this might be for some people an interesting thing in their case. It's 10,000 milliamps, so that means you can charge your phone probably three times depending on your phone, or you can charge your camera, let's say an A7 III camera, probably 3 or 4 times. So I think this is pretty good sort of product. Yeah, it looks fine to me. They also have bigger models, which are to me less interesting, because then they get the same size as this one again, but then they are like 20,000 or more milliamps, which might also be interesting for you. But for me, yeah, nice product. I'm not sure, I think it was about $40. Yeah, on the pricier side, but not silly. Yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to show you today. So yeah, see you in the next one, and hopefully yeah, this was useful for you, even if you don't have a camera bag problem that I am selecting this one for, but you have other reasons why you want to have a really thin sort of power bank. This might be for you. So yeah, see you in the next one, where we are going to talk probably about some new small rig parts and gimbal parts that should be coming in tomorrow. So see you in the next one, and bye bye.